It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
Baseball acapella version here on the SKOR North Twins Show. It's Judd, it's Dex, no Mackey, no Trevor Plouffe. Probably no Trevor Plouffe this week. Plouffe will be in the players-only broadcast all throughout this homestand against the Cubs. I got Corey Provis. He's just taking 3 days off.
Yeah.
I don't think he's on the radio, is he? Is he on the radio?
No, I think he's just off. I think he's
Wonder if
off,
he's
which
around.
it's interesting because Corey grew up, of course, in the Chicago suburbs as a huge Cubs fan.
Oh, yeah.
So I wonder if the team's like, we got to get him out of here. He's going to be. I mean, because the Cubs are really good. No, but Corey's a pro's pro. But yeah, so Plouffe, Morneau, and Perkins.
Yeah.
And I guess one of them is going to take the lead for each game. So like throwing the commercials
okay.
and stuff. So yeah, so it's going to be each one will get his chance. But I think it'll be extremely entertaining.
Yeah, I don't typically listen to the broadcast when I'm at the press box. You have that capabilities, but I'm gonna do that today for the first time.
Nice.
Gonna watch along. Probably might be a delay of some sort, but kind of curious to what it's. I know Plouffe had reservations about it when he brought it up the first time or with us a few months ago, and I get it. It is awkward, and play-by-play is not an easy job. So I am curious to see kind of how that flows.
Don't you think in this day and age, Dex, though, that in a situation like that where it's a special broadcast, don't you think that you got to just not be as concerned about the play-by-play?
Probably, yeah.
You know, if there's a fly ball to right, okay, it's a fly ball to right. But unless there's something that really needs to be explained, what I want is, and I think I'm going to the first two games as a fan, because I've got a friend of mine who's a huge Cubs fan, lifelong Cubs fan, who I'm taking. But I think my thing is just tell me stuff I don't know, which those three obviously can.
Yeah, they absolutely can. You know, I consider myself a man of faith, and there's a deep drive from Bader, and it's a 1-0 ball game.
This might be the last time you're hearing me. Okay.
Should be pretty good. Hey, let's start here. So every time we talk about the ownership trials, tribulations, the sale, you guys, the audience, always respond incredibly positivity to all those episodes. You consume those episodes more than almost any episode we put out. We had a big one yesterday, so thank you to everyone who does support the SKOR North Twins Show. You can hit the like button and subscribe button for the latest on sales like this, trade deadlines 3 weeks away, any roster news. So I'll be at the ballpark. We'll have some extra innings episodes sprinkled throughout this homestand as well. So appreciate you guys who do support the SKOR North Twins Show. All right, Judd, so our guy, Shooter, Charlie Walters, Pioneer Press, a little birdie. That was always one of my favorite things to read. I grew up in. I'm back in St. Paul now. I grew up just a mile down the road, and my love of sports started by reading the Pioneer Press every single morning as early as I can remember. That's how I got into sports. Yeah, I was reading Pioneer Press.
Did Dad not get the Star Tribune?
Nope, Dad was not a Star Tribune guy.
Pioneer Press guy. That's awesome.
Dad was a Pioneer Press guy.
Awesome.
So I would get the paper, lay it out, read the box scores.
Oh yeah.
And then once I kind of got okay at reading, which I'm still not great at, I would read then the actual articles and all the columns and stuff. So Charlie Walters says, as an update on the ongoing sale of the Minnesota Twins, he says, quote, industry sources say the Twins, who began exploring a sale last October, had sought $1.7 billion for the team, have a deal on the table, and that bidding to line up financing is underway. Walters simply says there's a deal, which presumably means the Pohlads, who have owned the franchise since 1984, are happy with a potential offer. Here's a interesting sticking point, though, from this. So the Twins have some debt, which is reported to be around $400 million, which is potentially and likely complicating the sale of this franchise. But Shooters reports that Major League Baseball is expecting to guarantee the Twins' debt, which could help move the sale along. This has been a very tough thing to get information on, just speaking from my experience. Judd, who obviously has his own contacts as well, it's a very hush-hush type of thing, and it's difficult to get info. So whoever Shooter is talking with or reporting from, number one is saying the Twins have a deal on the table, which is interesting, and that Major League Baseball, this part we haven't heard anything about before, that they're guaranteeing the Twins' debt. Luckily, my sports dad is smarter than me, and he said, "What does that exactly mean?" And what did you do, Judd, to figure out what
I went to
guaranteeing
AI.
the debt means?
I went to AI. Basically, what it means is that a third party, in this case baseball, would cover the debt if it doesn't get paid. So my guess is that nobody buying this team, if you're going to pay 1.7 billion, nobody wants the debt. And so it sounds like baseball is saying, okay, if it's not going to be paid, the total guess here. But after consulting with my good friend AI, my total guess
Allen
is
Iverson?
that the Pohlads might sell the team, keep the debt, but then if they don't pay the debt, baseball pays it off. So it's because if you remove the debt, you know, if the Tampa Bay Rays can be sold and the Twins can't, something's very wrong. I mean, the Twins play in a ballpark that's gorgeous. They certainly have their struggles, but my God, from a business perspective, the Twins are a thriving a corporation compared to the Rays. So my guess is that baseball is stepping in and saying, we'll cover or we'll be on the hook for the debt if it doesn't get paid, which probably gets the price of the team back up to 1.7 billion, which is what the Rays are going to sell for. And here's the importance too. Once you set like a number, so the Orioles sold a year ago April, right, for 1.7 billion. Once that's the number, you do not want to decrease it. Like think about football teams, basketball teams. Nobody's decreasing it. Glenn took less for the Wolves, but that's only because he agreed to that back in like 2020. So, and my guess on Shooter, and I have no evidence of this at all because I have not talked to him, but my guess on Charlie is that this might involve a local group because Charlie is very plugged in locally. Like he's got a lot of, like I don't think if this was going to be somebody coming in from the outside that the information, because you're right. I mean, it's been hush hush. So I'm going to guess that there is an involvement of a local investor here, and that local investor might be talking a bit more, which would not be a bad thing, but just trying to spitball. I'm literally trying to go and put together the pieces here, and that's my estimation. But if the Twins can get 1.7 billion and the Pohlads can, take it. And Dex, I think we all can agree on this too. We want this team sold now because if you've seen what's played out with the Washington Nationals the past couple days, because they fired their GM and manager on Sunday, and they've been bad for 6 years. And basically the owner said, hey, you know, this is no longer acceptable. But it's like, you're the one that tried to sell the team. You didn't sell the team. And look at the last time they made any investments. Like the Twins made the Correa investment. It might not work out, but it's an investment. Washington is an example of a team that pulled itself off the market because it couldn't sell for the price it wanted, but then has done nothing but destroy it. So I don't see any positive from the Pohlads keeping the team now. Once they decided to get out, I think that just means they won out, and it's not like they'd say, okay, we'll take a mulligan and now we'll spend again. That in my opinion, not happening.
You know what the conundrum, though, like when you compare it to the Nationals, who, yes, have been a dumpster fire since legitimately winning the World Series 6 years ago, is I would still take that path. I still would. I would have taken, and I know it's easy to say in the hindsight, but if you could have guaranteed me a World Series and then have bookends of pretty futile play between it, honestly, similar to the Royals. Royals went to back-to-back World Series in 2014-15.
Yep.
Went down, popped back up last year, but 15 years before that were mostly in the basement of the AL Central.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that right now that situation is probably even worse than the Twins, but the sooner that this sale happens, it's just the better. And
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's the parallel. Is if the Nationals had sold, my point is you would have had the best of both worlds because a new buyer probably invests more. I'm not saying it's perfect, but yeah, I think we all can agree, including the Pohlads, the sooner that we can get this deal done and get in. Because, you know, Dex, in fairness too, I mean, it's worth a conversation. A new owner is probably going to make some significant changes.
Yeah.
Like, I think part of the reason why Derek Falvey was named the president of the business side is the Pohlads probably thought, what's the point of hiring a president of essentially business operations who's going to get blown out himself? So, like, we are going to see, I would imagine, significant changes. Might not be instantly, but the door would be open.
Yeah. And the sooner the sale can happen and being approved by the owners, the better. We are a year and a half, less than that, from being in an inevitable MLB lockout again.
Yeah.
And the sooner this sales happens, not just for morale and changes that are all things I would want to see as well, but for things that are going to be completely very tough to overcome, because this lockout's going to be brutal, man. Like I know what they lost was it 95?
94. They went on strike in August and didn't come back, and for the first time canceled the World Series.
Right.
And then came back. A judge basically ordered them back in mid-April of 95.
Yeah.
But fans it was not good.
Yeah.
It took a lot to get people back.
And baseball cannot afford literally to go down that path again.
Here's my question for you. Because this will be the first time I think that this has happened, or at least it'll happen publicly. So, a work stoppage, okay? It's going to start with confrontations between the owners. And then they're going to have to get to the players. But if you want to put a salary cap in, or if you want local TV revenue sharing, like football has, Yankees and Dodgers, Red Sox are all going to balk at that. So this to me is going to be, it's going to be one of the most, it's unfortunate, but it's going to be one of the most fascinating things, because it's literally going to involve owners against owners. And then you're going to get to players. Because the Yankees aren't going to want a cap.
No.
The Mets ain't going to want, Steve Cohen ain't going to want a cap. I don't think.
I know.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be a very just dangerous and sticky situation that I would like to avoid.
But I guess the one thing is, yes, if I was going to own a team, I would hate to buy it right before this. But I guess the question is, if they get the game financially on the right track, Dex, what's the price of the ball club worth then? Because if you have revenue sharing, if you have a salary cap, the price spikes upwards.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So it might be, this is going to sound weird to say, but 1.7 billion, I guess you could make an argument, might be a bargain, because when baseball comes out of this, if they come out financially structured correctly, it'll probably drive the franchise valuations up as well.
Yeah, which is probably another thing that's literally risk reward that they have to weigh 100%. If you're the Polettes. And my opinion, sell as soon as possible for all the other external reasons that we've laid out. Yep. Hey, Byron Buxton, home run derby. So Byron Buxton's confirmed he will participate in the derby in his home state of Georgia. Pretty cool situation for Buck, who's having probably the best year of his career. Already with 20 home runs, playing elite defense, has been perfect stealing bases. He's the first Twins player since 2017 to perform the Derby. Miguel Sano played in that Derby. Justin Morneau won the Derby, even though everyone thinks Josh Hamilton won the Derby that year. Other Twins players to complete the Derby: Tom Bernansky, Gary Gaetti, Torrey Hunter, Joe Mauer, and Brian Dozier have all participated in the Derby. Buck getting to do it in his home state. His family's obviously excited. He's very excited. I mean, look, I know the big dumper is probably the one and the one everyone's looking at, but I would love, it'd be sweet, man, see Byron Buxton win the home run derby in his home state.
I'm just glad he can do this stuff. In fact, if you recall, so he was elected, he ended up starting for Mike Trout in 2022, but he was elected then, and it was in Dodger Stadium, and he was asked to be on the American League portion of the home run team. And because of his knee at the time, he couldn't. So he declined it, which was smart. But it just, again, it's so great to see this guy healthy and to see him. He's so much fun. You know, that game on Saturday in the bottom of the ninth, he gets on first base and nobody else can do what that dude did. You know, he ends up at third base. You don't squeeze with most of that team with Brooks Lee, right? But with Buxton, if that bunt gets down, he scores. Like, there's no play. There's just no chance for play. So, yeah, I think this is one of the great stories. There's a lot about this Twins team to frustrate you, but Byron Buxton, to me, it's worth celebrating that finally at 31, he is doing something that I think a lot of us thought would never be possible, and that is he is fulfilling his potential, and the more good that comes to this dude, the better. He deserves it, because there was never one time where I thought, you know what, he just doesn't like baseball. I think he's wanted to play the whole time. He's gone through hell and back. It's fantastic to see this.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Buck, on projections for the rest of the year. He's projected to play in 131 games, which would be 36 home runs, 95 RBI, 137 hits, just having a great year. And yeah, I know a lot of fans got frustrated with his lack of durability over the majority of his career. I think he's been frustrated by it.
Yep.
And he didn't have a surgery last year. He played in 100 games. He had the concussion this season, which was scary because it was like, oh boy, it kind of felt like here we go again. Came out of that in a good spot, which is great. He's easily been the best thing happening for the Twins this year. And yeah, he deserves to be in the Derby, and he deserves to get some time in the All-Star game. He hit a home run, I believe, the last time, right? When he, in 2022,
fourth inning, I think,
hit a bomb, which was pretty cool. So I think it's unique. I think it's really neat, and you got to take advantage of these opportunities when you have the chance to do so.
Absolutely, yeah. And look, I mean, he's just been through so much that I think do I like the home run derby personally? Not really. If you have an injury, I don't think that you should take part, but he's healthy, and so it's fantastic. And just go back to, what was it, 2023, the year that he exclusively DH, didn't play a game in center field?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was over. I thought it was over at that point. And then they did the arthroscopic surgery, I think it was at the end of that season, to take out that membrane flap, the plica. I don't know what, but I mean, whatever it was, it worked. And I remember Baldelli, talking about the fact that this was a chronic problem. And I'm like, it's never going away. He's never going to be able to effectively play again. And I am delighted to be wrong, because he is one of those guys in sports who is worth the price of admission, just because he does so many things that are unique for his sport.
And he does an insane amount of work to keep his body healthy and prepared, coming in on off days, making sure he's getting the right treatment, the right protocol to keep him healthy. Sure. Too. I think that part sometimes people just think it's just a guy standing there in a baseball uniform. How do you just get hurt randomly? Which, look, it's not a completely wrong question, but he does put in all the work necessary to remain healthy.
Absolutely.
All right, I have another Buxton thing, which is going to
go.
set the audience ablaze, because it already did so on Twitter. But a shout out to Northern Soda, little pontoon punch here. That's right, pontoon punch. I had a cream soda yesterday. Cream soda, root beer. Love me some cream soda and root beer. Northern Soda Company, which you can find in a lot of local grocery stores. Plus, they have a tap room in New Brighton. That's right. They have a soda tap room in New Brighton. In fact, stay tuned. It's not official yet, but we are working on a little event with Northern Soda in that tap room. We'll have more information, hopefully in the coming days about that. But go find your Northern Soda. Go stop in. You can also get I think it's a free pint with when you mention the SKOR North Twins Show on at Northern Soda's Tap House. So appreciate you guys supporting our sponsors. Okay, this is from ESPN.
This has nothing to do with me, folks.
This has nothing to do with Phil, Judd, or me, who's just rage-baiting clicks on Twitter. David, is it Schoenfield? Is that how you pronounce it, I believe?
Schofield, I think.
Schofield?
Schofield.
Okay. There's an E there, so I thought it was maybe Schoenfield.
You might be right.
He has
Schofield.
Potential MLB trade proposals for Paul Skeens, Acuna, and Buxton. Just living the reckless speculation lifestyle.
Yep.
So he has 3 offers on the table, potential trade offers that he would do for Byron Buxton going to a contender or going to a different team. Okay. Here's the first one from the Phillies, which, by the way, were in town over the weekend scouting the Twins for potential trade deadline moves. Phillies are having a great year, so I could see why they could buy him. The Phillies would offer right-handed pitcher Andrew Painter, who is the 23rd best prospect in baseball, and outfielder Justin Crawford. That's the first one. I've heard about Painter just from all my, card collecting that I do. I've heard about him. Who's this?
You do.
This isn't him. This is Johnny King, a shortstop that might be moved by the Blue Jays at the deadline.
Oh, very nice.
Bought that one because if he gets flipped, could make no cash.
Prospect
I did get
cards.
this.
I'd love to do a show someday on what's happened to collecting as far as prospects go.
I did get this Buxton one though. I got this Buxton one. This is out of 50.
Nice one.
This is out of 50. Only 50
just
print.
quickly.
Yeah.
And I know the kids love this, but I miss the backgrounds. I like the field.
Yeah.
Like I like the baseball picture. Like they're all now like, these specialized backgrounds.
Yeah. I
Probably just
understand.
an age thing, but I did love
is.
the old green grass. I like that. Anyway, yes. So that's the Phillies.
That's the Phillies. Here's the one from the Reds. The Reds would offer, I believe it's Rhett Lauder and Chase Petty,
This is hilarious.
who was drafted by the Twins. He went in the Sonny Gray trade. Both those guys are top 50 prospects. Lauder 48, Petty 49, knocking out the door here of being a pretty solid starter for the Reds. And then third baseman Sal Stewart. And then here's one from the Royals, which, by the way, neither team would ever do this. I know the Twins are very reluctant to do deals in the division, but the Royals' offer would be Cole Reagans, who is an awesome lefty, and left-handed pitcher also David Shields. Now, Schofield says the one that could get this done the best, even though he gave the 3 proposals, would be the Phillies. So the Phillies would be the one that gives the Twins the most sense. Painter would give the Twins a potential ace. And he writes up, they have a potential prospect, Emmanuel Rodriguez, ready to take over in center field. As much as I'm curious on that, I know that is a long ways away. It is not as simple as Emmanuel Rodriguez being ready to play center field.
Right.
From people I have talked to. Crawford is a divisive prospect because he's number 49 at MLB.com. And he's hitting for high average at AAA. He hits the ball well, grounds into too many, hits the ball on the ground too much, and has only 2 home runs, but a good OBP guy. The Royals challenge trade with Reagans is intriguing but risky for Minnesota, given he is on the injured list right now because of the rotator cuff. Any time pitcher has
sense.
elbow rotator cuffs, I'm out.
The Royals are worse than the Twins.
Yeah.
Like why? Like at least if we're going to do this, let's talk about the Phillies. Let's talk about teams like what on earth, the Royals.
I'll say this: if I were to do the Reds one, and Schofield mentions this, you got to give me Chase Burns.
Oh yeah, which you won't get.
But I mean that would have to be my starting point.
So right now people are screaming at you and saying he's got a no trade clause, you dummy. He's got a no trade clause. He's got. What do you say to those critics, Declan?
Number one, I can listen and look at all interesting things. No one in sports is untouchable. No one is, even though they might have no trade clauses. And I remind you, people who maybe sometimes forget that this happened, but the Twins signed him not once but twice. They signed Carlos Correa, which came out of complete left field.
Like to trade.
Can you imagine? What if someone wrote about or pontificated on a podcast months before that the Twins should sign Carlos Correa? Why are you rage baiting options? Or maybe, let me give you another one. Josh Donaldson. All of a sudden, Josh Donaldson's going to be a Twin. Oh, that could be fun, but you're probably just posting clickbait. That will never happen.
Yeah.
Happened. So, crazier thing. Dude, Rafi Devers got traded in mid-June. Now, that was a contentious situation, but they traded a star player to the Giants in the middle of a month. Anything is possible in sports. It might, even if it is, to use Derek Wetmore's less than non-zero chance word from back in the day, it is possible. I think it's highly unlikely. And also, just last thing, let me be clear: I am not interested in trading Byron Buxton. I had a no trade list, tier list last week that I explained that on. I'm not interested in it, but I can read it and not completely take a crap on it just because it's not something you like.
So I don't think Buxton would waive his no trade clause for the majority of deals. Like there is no way in God's green earth that dude is going to Kansas City. And I don't think he would go to the Reds. Like the Reds are an okay team, but he's not going there. The Phillies have a chance to win a World Series. So like we could at least talk about that one. And the issue on Buxton to me, if he would, let's just say there's a handful of teams that he would waive his no trade clause for because he wants to win a World Series. The issue on Buxton, and Phil and I disagreed on this, but I think it was sort of a parallel conversation situation, is, Phil's point is this guy's having a phenomenal year and his value is huge. My point is, yes, that's true. But his injury history to me says you're never going to get optimum return. Like if you were to trade Joe Ryan at the deadline, you would kill. You would make you would make the trade would make your head spin. You would have a chance to win that trade. Case in point, Juan Soto from Washington to San Diego. look at what the Nationals got. James Wood is phenomenal. They got a couple of pitchers. Like they won that trade. But on Buxton, I don't think that you could win the trade because I don't think you would ever get that haul. Because his history, like, I'm sorry, but if I'm a GM trading for him, the positives are great year and the contract's phenomenal. And just on its face, that contract is a great deal. The problem is, am I going to give you a haul for a guy whose basically career resume says I'm going to get hurt? No.
Yeah, it's tough.
So that's the one thing where I mean, I believe me, I love to recklessly speculate, and I'm with you, and it's fun. I think that Kansas City is a stupid place to talk about. I think the Reds are borderline stupid. I think the Phillies are legit. But that being said, I just don't think that you could ever recoup I don't think you could get what you want because of the fact that it would be held against you that this guy has a laundry list of injury stints that are big, and some of them are downright concerning. Like the concussion thing's concerning, man. He's had like 4 of them now.
Yep.
And the knee thing is now not a problem, but he's 31, so
Could be a problem.
Like if you want me to inflame Twins Twitter, if you want me, Sports Dad, to sit here and get people mad, I think the guy to take to market, if you want to be serious about this, of getting a huge haul, is Joe Ryan.
Yeah, and that would make probably a lot more sense. I think it's probably still likely someone that gets traded in the offseason. Ryan, that is, not Buck.
Yep.
Joe Ryan.
Yep.
But because you have to weigh too, and where this gets dicey is like I would extend Joe Ryan. Like if you're asking me which one I do, I want to keep Joe Ryan. And I'd like to extend him a contract. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, but would he? Here's my question to go back to the top of the show. What would the Twins offer be now?
Yes.
You know, like this is the thing that permeates this entire discussion. Because yes, if you could extend him 5 years or 4 years, 5 years right now at a set price, that's awesome. But in his defense, he's going to come asking for a ton, and quite frankly, he deserves that. And let's just say, I think if Joe was not pleased, Joe could pull the big pout. Like I could see a disgruntled Joe.
Yep. So, and where that gets even dicier is if he wants out. Well, that becomes worse for you trade wise. Correct. Because now he wants out, and everyone knows he wants out, and they're just going to force the hand. So you have to weigh the fact of if you have a shot of extending him, great, you should extend him. But if not, then you have to listen to trade offers. You have to. Again, and that goes back to the same thing of why would they do that? And also, why are you posting about this? Why are you even talking about this? Because this is how the negotiations work, man. Like I'm not spitballing anything completely crazy when I say that. So, yeah, very interesting though. Very interesting trade proposal for Buxton and what to do long term, I guess, to your point with Joe Ryan.
So on Joe, in my notes here, I've got him arbitration eligible this winter again for 2026, and then an unrestricted in 2027. My question for you is this. The Twins and most teams now have a habit of trying to settle, especially with star players, before they have to go to an arbitration process in which you tell an independent parties why you don't like a player. But what is Joe going to... So let's say a long-term contract is extended and rejected. What is Joe going to ask for? Because, I mean, he's going to be coming off what thus far has been another really good season.
Right.
And if the team's not sold by this winter, I just wonder what that's going to be like, because I can't imagine him taking a discount in an arbitration hearing. And my opinion is he's going to win it.
Yeah. Well, this is... I go back to the top of the show again. This is why selling is almost required, because it could also give players and situations like this, you know, a more advantageous spot to stay with the Twins. I know Derek Falvey is likely still going to remain in control for the time being. So there might not be that many changes, but you saw guys like Steve Cohen who come in and gave greenlit a bunch of money and gave big bags to pitchers. So if you're Joe Ryan, try to pull up something here. You know what? I don't know if this is perfect, but it might be somewhat solid. So when the Twins traded Jose Barrios signed a 7-year, $131 million contract with Toronto. he is making $19 million this year. He'll make $19 next year, and then he does have an opt-out if he wants to get out of that deal. But basically making, since he signed the contract, anywhere between $16 to $19 million, and then could make upwards of 24 if he doesn't opt out, actually. So maybe he does stick around. But probably something like that. Probably anywhere between $18 to $25 million a year for Joe Ryan. Pablo's making about, what, 20, I think? So,
and I'm not taking a dime less than Pablo.
Exactly.
If I'm Joe, no way.
Exactly. So if you saw what your counterpart got, he got, he's making 21.7 for the next 3 years. Hell, I'll give you one more. Sonny Gray, who was signed by St. Louis. He's making 25 and 35 million next year.
This is where I think we're going.
Yes. So, yeah, he signed a 3-year, $75 million.
So what's the arbitration ask? So if you're going to go to ARB against the Twins this winter, your ask is going to be 20 plus million, right?
No, like 20 plus million in an extension
for 1 year.
No.
So like if the Twins offer me and lowball me, which is possible, on a multi-year contract, and Joe is arbitration eligible for 1 more year. What do you submit as Joe Ryan? What is your ask for 2026? And by the way, after that, you are a free agent. So are you asking for 21 million just for a year?
Well, the team's going to set the offer price for arbitration.
And then you're going to set a price.
Yeah.
And then the arbitrators are going to hear it and decide. And I think Joe Ryan is a very good case to win.
He might, but he won't get 20 million. In an arbitration case?
No. I don't think so.
No, I mean, dude, what was the Vlad one from 2 years ago, which was, I know it's a hitter, but Vlad didn't he get the highest arbitration win, and that was like 20-something million? I don't think he'll get 20 in an arbitration case.
Okay.
His best case of getting $20 million is signing an extension with the Twins.
Sure.
So, but I mean, yes, arbitration
I'd
does make
file
things
with that,
complicated.
though. I definitely file. My request would be that. Now, in that case, you're saying he might not win it, but I mean, I'm not going to lowball myself, and unless the Twins come and say, okay, here's 3 years starting at 22 or something like that. But I mean, the Pablo contract is a very convincing case that Joe Ryan deserves as much or more.
Yeah. So, wow. Vlad settled at $19 million in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
He avoided arbitration, and $48 million this season, and he's obviously under contract.
Sure.
For future years. So,
interesting.
Yeah, it best case, avoid that and sign him to a long-term contract. And if that's the case, then I would, if you can't do that, I should say, then trade him. That's what I would do.
I like it.
The Twins owners.
I like it.
Hey, extra innings episodes coming at you from the ballpark this week. Very excited for that. Hit the like button, subscribe button here on the SKOR North Twins Show. That's Judd. I'm Dex. Be talking at you guys soon.